Do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a proven roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. We walk you through the exact same process that we use to run franchise marketing campaigns for our clients at scale that has resulted in triple-digit growth. This blueprint isn't for anyone. It's not for people just starting a franchise. It's not for franchises without long-term goals. This is for franchises that want to scale up their marketing in a predictable and profitable way using a proven roadmap. If you want to sell more franchises, keep your current franchisees happy, and learn from people who have already done it, go to franchisegrowthblueprint.com and sign up today. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another very exciting episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, Katrina Mitchell, who is the CEO and Chief Matchmaker of Franchise Speakers. Katrina, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jordan. I'm delighted to be here.
It is super exciting to have you, so thank you. So for those of our listeners who don't know you and Franchise Speakers, could you give yourself a bit of an introduction?
Sure, absolutely. Be happy to. So Franchise Speakers is the only speakers bureau in the world that focuses exclusively on franchising. We also work with dealer models, licensee models, co-op models, if you think one to many, where you have a mothership of sorts in a central location, and then you have independent business owners in some structure. The majority of our clients are franchisors. We do work with a lot of franchisee associations as well. And then we help supplier partners when they're putting on large franchise conventions or meetings to really help their constituency. So just really franchising. That's what we do.
Very cool. I love it. So what gave you this idea to start a speakers bureau specifically in the franchise niche?
So that's a great question. And I think it's a little bit funny. I always call it divine intervention. So, Jordan, I was actually a franchisee myself. I was a Bark Buster home dog training franchisee for 4 years. And when I decided to sell that business, I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. And I kept just making lists and writing ideas and thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What would be interesting to me? And as a franchisee, I would go to our annual convention, and sometimes the speakers would hit the mark and sometimes they were really off. They didn't understand the franchise relationship. They didn't understand how the model worked. They didn't understand our business. And it was really a turnoff to me as a franchisee to have someone on the stage, on the platform, talking to me about something that just was completely irrelevant. So I just felt like it was really important. It was important to help franchise business owners get business tool training, get the knowledge and the strategies and the ideas that could help them run better businesses. And of course, franchisors are really excited about that because they're trying to help their franchisees run better businesses. So that was kind of how it was born. Yeah. And I didn't do any research, Jordan, I'll tell you. And that was something that was very interesting. I had no idea that no one else was doing this.
That's really cool. I love it. And I love the fact that, you and your speakers are able to provide that kind of third party objective insight and learnings to franchisors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I had a franchisor client once who said that her 16 franchisees were very much like having 16-year-old daughters. And I laughed and I said, what do you mean by that? She said, well, 1 minute I've hung the moon and I can't do anything wrong. And the next minute I'm the biggest ninny in the world. And I really, honestly, Jordan, I think we hear this a lot from our franchisor clients that the key takeaways that a third party expert will deliver might very well be the same thing the franchisor has been suggesting to their franchisees over and over again. And all of a sudden, the franchisees can hear it because it came from a third party on the platform. So, however it works, as long as it works, right?
Totally. So tell me a bit more about that. What are some things that, you and your speakers are saying that's really resonating with franchisors and franchisees these days?
Well, these days, that's an interesting qualifier. Resiliency, thriving in uncertainty, adapting to change. Now, all of these topics, right, have always been relevant. I just think the degree of change that we are all experiencing right now, the pace of the change is so um, it's so huge that all of a sudden everyone is paying attention to that. So I would say those are all really important topics, and then some specific skills training, working, selling in a virtual environment, learning how to make authentic connections virtually. Um, let's see, culture, leading teams, how to, working from home, work life balance.
How have you seen franchises adapt to building culture virtually these days?
A great question. Thank you so much. We have brands that have done social gatherings and fun events. We've had brands who have hired an MC slash entertainer to do a fun family interactive juggling event where all of the employees who are working from home all of a sudden and have their kids at home with them, the whole family is engaged and the family is involved with what's going on. The kids are having fun. So I think that's one idea, and I think it would depend on what the franchisor wants to accomplish.
Mhm.
We have brands that have been doing happy hours and just getting core teams together to connect. I think one of the biggest things that we're hearing from so many of our clients is how much people are missing connecting with each other. And so finding meaningful ways to do that via video calls, Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever the platform is, and doing some fun things. One of our top brands, they start every call, the first few minutes of every call is something really fun. And so that helps people show up on time, and because they don't want to miss the fun part. So it could be where everyone's going to wear their favorite hat, or the most innovative hat you can come up with, or you're going to tell us something about yourself that no one else in this company knows about you, or just think creatively, kind of icebreaker ideas.
Mhm. I love it. And it's all about like injecting that fun and silliness and not taking things too seriously in this world that we're living in right now. So I'm
Yes.
sure it's a nice breath of fresh air.
Yes, yes. We also work with an organization called Go Remote, and they have a whole online platform of gamification, and it can be customized for the brand. So it can also be a learning experience. They You can play Pictionary, you can do karaoke, and it's just a riot. It's a riot. When I did their demo, I was just cracking up, and we had so much fun together because all of a sudden you're just playing this game, but you're learning at the same time. So super fun way to do it.
Very cool. So Katrina, you mentioned something really interesting that I want to dive a little deeper on. You talked about connecting, kind of like the right leaders and speakers with franchisors. So can you tell me a bit more, like for franchisors that are out there, what should they look for in a speaker and in a leader to help guide them and educate them?
That's a great question. So we developed a filter process based on three criteria. Number one, does the speaker understand franchising and the franchise relationship? Because there isn't anything that will turn off an audience of franchisees quicker than someone getting on the platform and speaking to them as if they're employees, or talking to, this always strikes fear in the heart of every franchisor, talking to a group of franchisees about getting out there and innovating and driving creativity, which, yes, there is absolutely a place for that in every franchise system. But franchising is about following the system. It's not about everyone getting out there and innovating and creating. It's we as franchisees, and again, I was one, so I can say um, we invested in a process, in a system, in a mark, in a brand, in a marketing um, uh, a marketing plan, marketing toolkit, right? I bought a franchise because I wanted to be in community of like-minded people. I wanted a proven product and service, and I wanted to have all of that backup, all of the marketing and home office support, so I could just go out and run my business. So number one, they have to understand franchising and the franchise relationship. Number
Mhm.
two, they're expert adult educators. So they really understand that these are dynamic, active, decisive, high energy business owners. You don't talk at them, you engage them. So when a presenter is a professional adult educator, they really know how they know the craft of how to fully engage the audience and bring them along on the learning journey. And then the third thing that we set up as a criteria is our no diva policy. So we have little buttons with a red circle and a line through it, and it says no diva, no divas. So we promise our clients we won't work with anyone who has that self-serving, egocentric diva attitude, and we won't send them anyone like that. And I think in the world of professional speaking, there unfortunately is quite a lot of that. And I think it's important to filter for those and find those speakers who are so heart oriented, so service oriented, and they care deeply about helping as many business owners as they possibly can. So their energy from the platform is pouring out to the audience versus the other side, those speakers who are really coming from that egocentric place. They are sucking the energy out of the audience into themselves. I think we all feel it. We've all had that experience. I'm sure you have, Jordan.
Yeah, and that's such a good point, especially from a learning perspective as well, because the more engaged and like you, as you mentioned, you kind of feel this vibe in the room or with this speaker, and I find that things just tend to resonate a whole lot more.
Absolutely. I think the way I kind of capsulize it is that when you're in a audience and the speaker is passionately delivering a heartfelt message, everyone in the room feels like that speaker gets them and that speaker is speaking directly to them. And that's what I'll hear when you walk out and you're in the lobby area. They're like, wow, he really got our business. How much research? Or, man, she really understood what it was like to be a franchisee in such and such a brand. And I feel like that's what happens. And the other side, you see everyone in the audience on their phones. So,
Totally, totally. Very, very insightful, Katrina. So, one question I always love to ask guests is, what advice would you give someone just starting out as a franchisor?
oh, that's such a great question. Um, I think that all the brands that I have worked with and we've had the pleasure of working with over 300 brands in the last 12 years. And many, many of our clients have been our clients since I started. Um, I would say franchisee first is really having that just heartfelt intention that you are going to help these people who are investing in a particular concept, idea, service, product. You're going to help them be successful. And I think when we all put that the franchisee's success first, then everything else can evolve around that. What do you think?
I love that. I absolutely love that. And it's kind of coming full circle to what you mentioned in that, with the speakers and leaders that franchise speakers brings on board, it's all about putting the audience first. And very similar to with the franchisor, you need to put the franchisees first. And it's that kind of vibe that you just get, it's that gut reaction, you can't quantify it. It's just something that you have to feel.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
So one thing that I did want to ask you, Katrina, is you work with a huge amount of franchises, across North America, in a variety of industries. Some just may not necessarily have the budget or be thinking about bringing a speaker or a leader on board, especially when they have maybe 5 to 10 units. Could you touch on that and maybe why it's so important, especially at that growth stage,
Yeah.
to kind of bring someone on?
Yeah.
We'll get right back to the show, but do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. To find out more, visit franchisegrowthblueprint.com. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Now back to today's episode.
So we have absolutely worked with brands who have invested in outside speakers, and they have 15, 16 units. And we have some presenters. Many of them are iconic franchise leaders they've been franchisors, they've been franchisees who are transitioning into a world of speaking. And so they're available to work with emerging brands at a much lower fee than, say, a named household speaker, a Simon Sinek, or we get that call a lot where people are like, "Oh yeah, I want to have Simon Sinek," and I'm like, "Great, what's your budget?" "Well, we have just $7,500 or $5,000. And I'm like, "Yeah, we're not going to be getting Simon Sinek for that." So it's really, there's three criteria. I seem to always talk in threes, but there's three criteria that we help clients match their speakers on. First would be their learning objectives. So what do they want their franchisees to think, feel, say, or do when they leave that session? So we want to start with the end result. So we want to think about, what do we want to have happen? Then we back up and say, okay, how do we make that happen? What's the message we want to deliver? And so number one, learning objectives. Number two, culture of the brand. So we've worked with brands that would start their convention, their live convention, with a 7 a.m. Bloody Mary happy hour. And we have other brands that are devout Christians. So there's no drinking throughout the entire event. So, we have to understand the culture of the brand and the culture of the community and what they want to achieve. And then the third thing is budget, because, like, as I mentioned earlier, I could bring you 9 customer service speakers who really can deliver an amazing message. However, some of them might be $40,000, $50,000. If your budget is 10, then I want to just bring you a targeted list that's going to fit. It's going to fit your objectives, your culture, and your budget.
You know what? I feel like a broken record saying this, but I love just how hands-on you are with making sure there is that really like intimate one-to-one relationship with, the speaker or the leader and the franchise system that they're presenting to.
Yeah, I appreciate that you appreciate it, Jordan. Here's why I'm so passionate about this next statement that I'm going to make. I feel that the annual franchise convention, whether that's live or virtual in today's environment, is the opportunity of the year for franchisors to help their franchisees fall back in love with the brand. it is the most important marketing expense. It is the most important relationship building opportunity. And this is another reason, I'm just going to throw this in here, that I always suggest, you ask me for advice for emerging brands. I would suggest, as soon as you possibly can, bring on a professional meeting planning organization. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is when franchisors have their, their VP of communications or their director of franchise relationships is running around trying to make sure there's creamer on the buffet for the coffee, when that person should be standing having meaningful, heartfelt conversations with their franchisees. When we are in a live environment, this is the time to really connect. Hire a meeting services company to take care of how the event runs, so that the investment of your people and their time is face to face in connecting, listening to, supporting, and creating those relationships with franchisees that will fuel them both for the entire year.
That I feel, again, I feel like a broken record saying this, but I love that statement. And I want to call out one specific word that you said in it, and that's investment versus because so many franchises see marketing, see, these types of annual conferences as an expense. But the reality of it is, as you mentioned, it's an investment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I was a franchisee, Jordan, I was very fortunate in that I finished my 3 weeks of basic training, of home office training, had a day off, and the next day our convention started. And so I was able to go right from training to being fully surrounded by 130 of my fellow franchisees. I got to meet everyone in the system. I got to create relationships that with my mentors and the top performers. And that was actually just something that someone had suggested I do. And I thought it was a great bit of advice that I'd love to pass on. Is when I got to the convention, I had a list of who the top 5 producers were. And I followed them around until they would talk to me. And those top 5 producers became my mentors. And I feel like it's really important. If you want to be successful, we all know this, pattern yourself, like go find the successful people and do what they're doing.
Yeah. Again, great, fantastic point. So, Katrina, we are coming near the end of the podcast episode, and one way I always like to end it is with something called the lightning round. So it's just a few fast-paced questions coming at you. I promise no hardballs. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. First question is, what is your favorite tool or app that you cannot live without?
Right now it's Trello.
Such a good tool.
Just love that tool.
Yeah, I love it too. So easy, just drag and drop and you're at it. All right. Second question. What is your favorite book?
That is a really hard question. I'm an avid reader. I don't watch television. So right now I could tell you I'm reading the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, which is amazing. I am reading a book on resiliency, which is also amazing. And then I'm reading a John Grisham fun legal mystery thriller thing.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So next question is, who is a franchise leader that you look up to?
Oh, that's a tough question too. There's so many really amazing human beings in this, in the franchise community. I would say Brian Schnell, certainly, from Faegre Drinker. His insights into what it takes to create a healthy franchisor relationship, his passion to support the community. He will do anything for anyone. He's just an amazing human. He would definitely, be one of my very top iconic figures. And then I would also have to say Steve White from Puro Systems. He knows how to turn around a franchise brand, and he really knows. He's just so heartfelt. Again, you'll hear that theme in everything I say. He just Steve really, he puts his heart right out there and he does everything he can to help his franchisees.
Awesome. I love it. So last question, Katrina, I promise. Where can people find out more about you and your company?
Thank you, Jordan. We are at Franchise Speakers with an S, franchisespeakers.com. And we work globally. We have events in New Zealand, Australia, India, Asia, UK, but the majority of our business is in North America. And my direct phone number is 303 669 9905. Let me repeat that for you. It's 303 669 9905.
Awesome. Katrina, thank you so much for coming on the show. You shared a wealth of information that I know our listeners are going to love.
Thank you. And please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Would love to help anyone in any way that we can. And Jordan, thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest on your awesome show. And we love what you do and appreciate everything you do for the franchise community.
Thank you. You as well, Katrina. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend and subscribe now so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And until then, happy marketing.